lots of bone here. It's definitely an animal.
Beneath layers of desert silence, researchers uncovered cheetahs so perfectly preserved they seemed paused between breath and motion, as if the hunt had only just ended. Yet the deeper they dug, the clearer it became that this discovery was not about the past alone, but a warning. The discovery beneath the sand. The excavation began as a routine survey, the kind archaeologists conduct countless times in landscapes shaped by wind and patience. Fine sand shifted under careful brushes, revealing outlines that at first looked like ordinary animal remains, until the team noticed the unmistakable curve of a cheetah's spine preserved with extraordinary clarity. Muscles had long since vanished, yet the posture felt alive, frozen mid-movement, as though the animals had simply paused beneath the Earth's surface and never resumed the chase. Researchers documented every layer, measuring soil composition and temperature patterns, trying to understand how nature had created such rare preservation conditions without deliberate human intervention. As more of the site emerged, the scale of the discovery became clear. Multiple individuals lay close together, suggesting a shared moment rather than random deaths separated by time. Scientists from regional museums and universities joined the analysis, comparing bone structure, isotopic traces, and surrounding plant residues to reconstruct the environment these predators once inhabited. What they found hinted at a thriving ecosystem that supported fast hunters, abundant prey, and stable climate rhythms now long gone. The emotional weight of the discovery grew heavier with every photograph, because the animals appeared not like relics, but witnesses, carrying silent evidence of a world that had flourished before collapsing. That realization pushed the investigation toward a larger question about what made cheetahs so successful, and why that success eventually faded. A predator built for speed. To understand why the discovery mattered, scientists turned to the biology of the cheetah itself, an animal shaped by evolution into a specialist unlike almost any other predator on Earth. Every feature of its body serves acceleration. A lightweight frame, enlarged nasal passages for oxygen intake, flexible spine acting like a spring, and claws that grip the ground like running spikes. In short bursts, cheetahs can reach speeds approaching 100 kilometers per hour. Yet this astonishing ability comes at a cost, because the same design that makes them fast also makes them fragile. They rely on open landscapes, clear sight lines, and precise timing, meaning even small environmental changes can disrupt their survival strategy. Fossil and genetic evidence shows that cheetahs once ranged across vast territories stretching from Africa into parts of Asia and the Middle East, occupying ecosystems that allowed their speed to flourish. Ancient rock art and early historical records depict slender hunting cats chasing antelope across plains that no longer exist in the same form today. The preserved animals beneath the sand, therefore, represented more than isolated individuals. They were proof of a time when cheetahs thrived across regions now empty of their presence. Researchers studying bone wear patterns noticed signs of intense athletic strain, reinforcing the idea that these predators lived at the edge of physical possibility, succeeding through precision rather than brute force. That balance between brilliance and vulnerability set the stage for a deeper investigation into the world these animals once ruled and the conditions that allowed such mastery to exist. The world they once ruled. Reconstructing the ancient environment required more than examining bones, so researchers turned to pollen samples, mineral layers, and microscopic plant residues trapped in the surrounding sediment. These clues revealed a landscape far different from the dry terrain visible today, one shaped by seasonal grasslands, scattered woodlands, and reliable water sources that attracted large herds of prey. Antelope and gazelle species moved in predictable patterns, creating ideal hunting grounds for predators built on speed and precision. The preserved cheetahs were not anomalies in this ecosystem. They were products of a balanced system where climate, vegetation, and animal migration aligned almost perfectly. Climate models suggest that subtle environmental shifts gradually altered this balance, reducing open spaces and forcing prey populations to change their routes. As habitats fragmented, cheetahs faced increasing pressure because their hunting strategy depended on uninterrupted terrain and visibility. Evidence from nearby archaeological sites indicates that early human communities also expanded through these regions, introducing competition for land and resources while reshaping ecosystems through agriculture and settlement. None of these factors alone explains the decline, but together they form a picture of slow transformation rather than sudden catastrophe. The animals buried beneath the sand therefore represent a snapshot taken at the edge of change, preserved at a moment when the ecosystem still functioned, but instability had already begun to spread. For researchers, the emotional paradox was difficult to ignore. These predators appeared powerful and alive, yet their world was already slipping away. That realization created a direct bridge between ancient collapse and modern reality, where cheetahs face pressures that feel strikingly familiar, only now unfolding at a far faster pace. The turning point: collapse of a range. When scientists compared the ancient evidence to modern population data, the scale of change became impossible to ignore. Conservation research shows that cheetahs have disappeared from roughly 91% of their historic range, shrinking from a once continuous corridor across Africa and Asia into isolated pockets separated by farms, roads, and expanding human settlements. Current estimates suggest only a few thousand mature individuals remain in the wild, a number small enough that local disruptions can erase entire populations within a single generation. The preserved cheetahs beneath the sand suddenly felt less like distant history and more like a mirror reflecting a pattern that continues today. Habitat fragmentation is often described in abstract terms, yet its impact on cheetahs is brutally concrete. These predators require vast territories to hunt successfully, and when landscapes are broken into smaller pieces, they encounter fences, livestock areas, and human conflict that reduce survival chances for both adults and cubs. Genetic studies also reveal a severe bottleneck in the species' past, meaning modern cheetahs share remarkably low genetic diversity, which limits their ability to adapt to disease or environmental stress. Researchers from organizations such as the IUCN and regional conservation groups emphasize that decline rarely happens through one dramatic event. Instead, it unfolds through countless small pressures that accumulate quietly until recovery becomes difficult. The ancient site offered a haunting perspective on this process. Those animals lived in a world where conditions were already shifting, yet the pace allowed ecosystems to adjust gradually. Today, change moves faster than adaptation can follow. As scientists absorb that reality, the discovery transformed from an archaeological curiosity into a warning, pushing conservationists to ask whether modern interventions can alter a trajectory that has repeated across millennia. Scientists racing against time. Across Africa and parts of Asia, conservationists now work in conditions that feel less like research and more like a race against disappearance. Teams track cheetahs using GPS collars to map movement corridors, studying how individuals navigate landscapes increasingly shaped by human activity. These data help scientists identify critical routes connecting fragmented habitats, allowing governments and local communities to design wildlife corridors that reduce conflict and improve survival rates. At the same time, veterinarians and geneticists analyze blood samples to monitor health and genetic diversity, searching for ways to strengthen a population already weakened by centuries of decline. The work carries human risks and emotional strain. Field researchers spend months in remote areas, balancing scientific goals with the realities faced by farmers whose livestock sometimes becomes prey. Conservation programs increasingly rely on community partnerships, offering compensation schemes and education initiatives that encourage coexistence rather than retaliation. Some projects experiment with relocating cheetahs to safer reserves, although scientists debate how effective these efforts are long-term, since relocation can introduce stress and disrupt established territories. What remains certain is that every intervention reflects a recognition that passive observation is no longer enough. For many researchers, the ancient discovery reshaped their perspective. Seeing predators preserved from a lost world made modern decline feel tangible, almost personal, as though the past had reached forward to remind them what was at stake. The question guiding their work became simple yet urgent. If history shows how quickly dominance can vanish, can science move fast enough to prevent the same story from repeating again? What the cheetahs teach us about survival. Standing at the edge of the excavation site, researchers often described a strange feeling of continuity, as if the ancient animals were not separate from the present, but part of a longer conversation about survival. The cheetah story challenges a common assumption that speed or specialization guarantees success, because evolution does not reward strength alone. It rewards adaptability to change. These predators dominated open landscapes for thousands of years, yet when environments shifted beyond their narrow margins, even extraordinary abilities became limitations rather than advantages. Modern conservationists see the same lesson reflected in today's ecosystems. Species do not disappear overnight, and collapse rarely arrives with a single dramatic event. Instead, it unfolds through gradual pressures that accumulate until resilience runs out, leaving only traces that future scientists struggle to interpret. The preserved cheetahs offer something rare in that context, a clear snapshot of life before decline became irreversible, reminding us that warning signs often exist long before crisis becomes visible. Their silent presence forces a difficult question about how many species now stand at similar turning points, waiting for decisions made far from their habitats. As the research continues, the ancient discovery stops being only about cheetahs and becomes a reflection on humanity's role in shaping whether speed, beauty, and balance survive into the future. Beneath the sand, the cheetahs waited for thousands of years, not as relics, but as reminders that survival is never guaranteed. Their story is still unfolding, and so is ours. If this journey moved you, follow along, because the next discovery may already be waiting.